my foster mother dying at 19 was one of the biggest blessings for me in my life, because I had the experience of having to face mortality at a very young age. And whilst she was an exquisite human being, the truth is, when she died, I don't believe that she led the fullest of lives. I don't believe that she left this earth feeling like I did this. And so the idea of me going to my grave being led by fear is not an option.
I would rather die and get killed than keep my mouth shut my whole life. And I'm gonna die anyways. And you know what? It's gonna be uncomfortable no matter what. I might as well experience pain and fear in service of my greatness. So might as well go for gold.
I'm Layla Martin. I'm your host of This Tantric Life. This podcast is for you to learn about and be able to use the incredibly powerful system of Tantra in your life. I have been teaching and studying classical and neo-Tantra for over 20 years. And when you apply that to sex, love, and relationships, as I love to do, you end up having conscious relationships, the deepest, most epic and magical sex, and the kind of intimacy that you get to be grateful for on your deathbed.
Hello and welcome to This Tantric Life. I'm your host, Layla Martin. I am joined today by the Sunday Times bestseller, Suzy Ashworth. She's a single mother of 3 children, a high school dropout, a Hay House author, an international keynote speaker, a multiple 7-figure success coach, and a serial entrepreneur on a mission. She has worked with thousands of impact-driven leaders in business to create quantum shifts in their lives and their businesses over the last 10 years. And her vision is to raise the vibration of humanity through helping people consciously create freedom, joy, and abundance through sharing the secrets of how to tap into the frequency of infinite receiving. I'm especially excited for us to have a conversation today about how you can make more money and live a life of greater abundance by owning your greatness, your self-love, and your co-creative powers with the universe. Suzy has also done my VITA Coaching Certification and the VITA Initiation Program, so she is also going to share how her journey of sexual awakening and sexual empowerment allowed her to open even more deeply into the receiving of abundance, magic, success, and her own destiny of greatness. So I'm so excited for us to be here today. Suzy was like, should I wear sequins or velvet or sparkles or faux fur? And I was like, all of the above. And then I was like, thank you for inspiring me to get out of whatever image I had in my head and like back into my rhinestones.
Yeah, baby. This is like the Tantric Live podcast. I was like, I'm bringing it.
Yes, and so you have. So congratulations, your new book, Infinite Receiving, just hit the Sunday Times bestseller list here in the UK. So incredible. And you're in a mastermind with me, this like circle of queens, and we've just been cheering you on and supporting you. So huge congratulations in that.
Thank you so much. I received that deeply. It has blown me away. And yeah, I'm really, really, really grateful because I wrote the book for me. And yeah, writing it for me has meant that I think that it's just touched many, many, many more people. It's resonating deeply and it's super exciting.
What do you mean you wrote it for you?
I wanted, like whenever you kind of get an opportunity like this, the first thing in your mind is, I want to be a bestseller. Yeah. And then as you're writing, when you're thinking about when you're thinking about the outcome and how good it needs to be, and if I say it like this, will people get it like that? Everything kind of contracts.
Yeah.
And when you are in creative flow, you need to be in the most expansive state. And so I got to a point during the writing that it felt so sticky and so hard that I just had to drop all desire for the book to be anything or for it to reach anybody.
Yeah.
And the commitment that I made to myself was just write the book that you are going to read 10,000 times over. Because when you embody the words that you have written, you will touch so many people. And so, I wrote that book for me and it's resonating. Yeah.
There's a metaphor for life in there, right? Which is like you can live for everybody else to try and get a response from everyone else, to try and get what you think you need from other people.
Yeah.
Or you can just live the life that you would want to live 10,000 times over.
Yeah.
Because it's yours.
Yeah, 100%. And really, that is the core message of the book.
Nailed it. So yeah, you teach about how to have more wealth, more abundance, more in your business. Can you give us a summary of what is infinite receiving and how can we have that for ourselves?
Yeah, infinite receiving is a philosophy. It's a way of looking at the world and a way of interacting with the world in such a way that you are able to receive not just what you need, but more of what it is that you desire emotionally, spiritually, financially, practically, really in every single area of your life. And I think that I've used the word resonating a couple of times already. I think that the story touches people. The book is touching people because one of who's written it, to have a Black woman writing about abundance and wealth and creating multiple millions and all of that, it's still rare. And to have a dark-skinned Black woman writing it is even more rare. And when you layer that with the fact that I was fostered from the age of 3 months old, I dropped out of school when I was 16. My foster mother died when I was 19. My foster father died when I was 23. I think when people are reading it, they're like, if she can do it, I can do it. Yeah. So it's like, these are the principles that I've learned throughout my life. And actually, they are available to you. You just have to choose to lean in and say yes to yourself and yes to life. And it's wild how fucking hard it is to just say yes, to just say, this is what I want. It's so scary. And I think that when people are like, well, she's doing it, what's my excuse?
Totally.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated to hear a little bit more about that from you. First of all, I have full body goosebumps. I'm like tingling as you're talking about this. Like, yes, yes. Thank you so much for every choice you've made so you can be that voice of wisdom and leadership for us all in this regard. Like, so touched by that. I was, I have contemplated often in this messaging of you can take quantum leaps.
Yeah.
You can overcome intergenerational trauma.
Yes.
Right. You can live a life of your dreams.
Yes.
And being sensitive to privilege.
Yeah.
Right. At the same time that it is easier for me as a privileged white woman to stand and say, yes, you can live the life of your dreams.
Yeah.
You can choose abundance, right? When it's been the path to that for me based on the color of my skin has been easier.
100%.
But still obstructed. Easier, but still obstructed compared to a Black woman and especially compared to a dark-skinned Black woman.
Yeah.
And so there's this fine line of acknowledging the fucked up injustice of the world, how twisted things have been, how deeply unfair, and how big of a leap it is for anyone who came from a class of oppressed people to be able to choose a life of their own destiny. Because in some ways, being able to make money is to chart your own destiny in a way that has been denied us, right? Any woman has been denied that in some way, shape, or form for the last few thousand years. And Black women have been the most denied over the past few hundred, right? And so to chart your own destiny is this huge blessing, this enormous privilege. And yet there's this acknowledgement that happens first of the pain, of the suffering, of the unfairness. But then what does it take to acknowledge that and rage for that and grieve for that, but not get stuck in that?
Yeah, it is not easy. And I write this in the book, like, your context matters. And I think that this conversation around you can create your own destiny, like, most of the time, that conversation is happening without any regard for somebody's context.
Yeah.
And it's not just the experience that you are living. Like you say, it's generational. It's what is embedded in your DNA without you even being aware. Like, these are all of the things that are holding you back. And there came a point in my journey where I was looking at people who were creating, and I was looking at people who were successful, and they were saying the same things that I was saying about mission, about wanting to help people, about wanting to make a difference. They were talking about the same types of troubles that they had in their relationships, with their children, with their lives. And I was hearing their words and thinking, I think like that. I have dreams like that. I am not like, there are many, many similarities. We might look different, but what I'm hearing and what I'm feeling is the same. And the question that I started asking myself was, why not me? And it sounds so simple, but this is why I'm sat here today, because I've kept asking myself that question, why not me? And it's not to say that I don't have moments. And I just said, even in writing the book, there are times where I feel inferior, there are times when I feel not enough. There are times when I feel absolutely not in my greatness. Even preparing for this podcast, I was a bit like, Layla's brain is so fucking big. And my friend, God bless him, was like, Layla's brain is hot and so is yours. And I was like, I'll receive that. It's this constant dance.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to catch myself in the moment because I have to be the circuit breaker. I just have to choose something different for myself. And so the why not me, it sounds basic, but that is how I've created everything that I've created. And I invite everybody who is listening, everybody who's had trauma, everybody that's been abused, everybody that is looked down on, everybody who is judged before they've even opened their mouth, to say, fuck you, why not me?
Fuck yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that invitation because, there's this meme. I totally get it. It's like, is it manifestation or is it white privilege?
Yeah.
Right. And to me, it's like, is it sex magic or is it white privilege in some senses? And acknowledging that there is this deeply unjust, unfair, unequal world is so important. And at the same time, it can be used to reinforce a narrative of like, well, no, it shouldn't be me. It can't be me, right?
Exactly. And it's not true.
Yeah.
And for me, so much of what I do absolutely is for me.
Yeah.
It absolutely is for my kids. I'm a single mom. I've got 3 kids. I've got a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 7-year-old. Like, life is lifing with me on a daily basis, but also I understand what a privilege it is for me to be sat here and to be able to have this conversation. I get to be the model for many, many women of color who are not seeing other Black women have this conversation.
Yeah.
Because then it's not like, well, why not me when I look at Layla? But it really is, why not me when I look at Suzy? I understand the power of that.
And that's why we need representation in leadership in all different domains.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it means so much to people to see a version of themselves doing what they want to know that they can do. So, wow. I'm here to let you know that if you want to stay connected to my teachings and if you want to support this podcast, the best way to do it is to sign up for my email list. Email list sounds old school, and yet it is where I share my most intimate teachings, the path process heartbreak and triumph of my life, and so much of the content that I make for you on a regular basis. So the way you get on the email list is by heading over to laylamartin.com, put your email address into any of the boxes. You can also sign up for cool practices like sex magic or energy orgasm, totally free. Heading on over to laylamartin.com, signing up with your email address. This supports the podcast. It supports this entire work and is the number one way for you to receive the highest teachings of this path. How then, I'm sure you discussed this in your book, but what are some of those steps to overcome some of that very heavy programming, right? Because growing up in poverty is a kind of programming. Growing up without, stable parents making solid money is a kind of programming. Yep. Growing up as a Black woman in the world is a kind of programming. What did you do to overcome so much of that messaging that would say, no, it's not you, so that you could actually build this deeply inspirational life and business?
Lots, actually. And first and foremost, I think probably what is most useful is just to talk through the 4 pillars of receiving.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting, when I look at my life now, it's easy for people to be like, oh, okay, this makes sense now. But in terms of actually writing the book, I looked right back to the beginning. It's like the seeds have been planted and sown since my very first breath for me to be here. And it's been an unlayering over 45 years. And the first pillar is really knowing our own unique greatness. And so for me to be able to sit here today in my power is to understand that there is only ever going to be one Layla Martin, but there is only ever going to be one Suzy Ashworth. Never before, and never will there be again. And the more I lean into that truth and the knowing that this voice is going to be an activator for at least one human being, that has heard stuff like this before many, many times over, and it's gone completely over their heads. But the more I lean into that knowing of there's only one version of me, there's one person out there that needs to hear it from my voice, like that is really, really knowing my greatness. And in the book, I talk about like how much more full of yourself can you become when it comes to like making a quantum leap. I know that there is another level of expansion, another level of truth, another level of authenticity that I get to access in order to create the change. So for everybody who's at the start of their journey, it's really looking at, where am I filtering myself? Where is my shame? Where is my fear telling me that it is not safe for me to be who it is that I desire to be? Those little whispers. And it requires a huge amount of courage. And I say this, it's like, it sounds like, oh, fairy dust and yay. Actually, it's really bloody tough to say this is who I am.
Yeah. It's so what I've seen that makes that so hard, right? I can speak to my own life and experience first, right? Like, why was it so hard for me to fully own my greatness? In my history and my lineage, it's like, well, when I become great, turns out I'm a motherfucking notorious sex witch. And you know what they did for the last few hundred years, right?
Yeah.
In Europe, they tortured and killed women who had the audacity to let themselves be great. Like, I am great, right? My flavor of greatness, my own religion, right? Because I was raised Catholic, tortured and killed people like me who stood for their own greatness publicly while all my people watched, So we say sometimes witch wound is this casual thing. It's like, no, right? And so when you say it takes courage, right? Takes courage to face that pain body that kept my grandmother quiet, right? That kept my mother quieter, that kept my great great grandmother real fucking quiet, right? To not listen to those stirrings of greatness, because who would you be if you were that great? And to acknowledge that for many generations, for women the world over, it actually has not been safe. You could have your inner greatness, but not the kind of greatness we can have today.
Yeah.
And what's wild is so many of our ancestors, right? Our great grandmothers would be begging for us to step into our greatness, because they'd be like, sweetheart, like I made sure we survived so that you could do this one day, right? And then what is so wild in the female experience is my version of silencing is one of the most privileged for women, right? And it's still, that's still deep shit, right?
Yeah.
Like that's not casual. And then on top of that, all the messaging I got growing up of just like, men aren't going to want someone as smart as you. Women aren't this outspoken. Men don't want to be with a woman that powerful, right? Like growing up in the time of just like clueless and like literally be clueless. You know, no one wants a woman who goes to Stanford, makes her own money, right? And so then there's all this conditioning of like, it's not safe because you'll never find a partner. You'll never be attractive. No one will want you, right? Like just be like keep your mouth shut and be useful in whatever society deems, right? And then for women of color, right, there's even deeper threat. Like what would the colonizers have done, or the slave owners, should you have claimed your greatness, right? On top of what do they do to witches in Africa, right? So it's an even deeper threat body in there, that when you say, okay, I'm going to claim my greatness, I'm going to step on stage, I'm going to open my voice, I just want to acknowledge what a potent leap that is.
What I am asking is for you to own, like, it is safe for me to use my voice, and I will use my voice even when it is unsafe.
Yeah.
It is a huge, huge deal, and it can't be taken lightly.
Yeah.
You know, that's the reality. And for me, what I feel, my mother, my foster mother dying at 19 was one of the biggest blessings for me in my life, because I had the experience of having to face mortality at a very young age. And whilst she was an exquisite human being, and I feel so deeply blessed to have been blessed with her, the truth is, or at least my truth, is that when she died, I don't believe that she led the fullest of lives. I don't believe that she left this earth feeling like I did this. And so the idea of me going to my grave being led by fear is not an option. You know, most of us are living our lives like we're immortal.
Yeah.
And we get one chance in this body. And that's why it's worth it, even though it's scary.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's so beautiful to be sharing. Like it is scary. It is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I think two things that I've seen that really helps people update themselves is to make sure that you are operating your nervous system based on your current time reality. It's not 50 years ago anymore. It's not 100 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not even 10 years ago. The world changed so much in the last 5 years, even for being a woman, right? So updating your nervous system so you can exist here and now. And then exactly as you're saying, there came a point where I was like, I would rather die and get killed than keep my mouth shut my whole life. And I'm going to die anyways. And I never know when. And you know what? It's going to be uncomfortable no matter what. Like there's going to be discomfort either way. I can open my mouth, fully go for it, and it's going to be uncomfortable, or I can keep my mouth shut and like, you know, sneak my way through life, hoping nobody notices. And it's going to be really painful too. So if it's going to be painful either way, I might as well experience pain and fear in service of my greatness. And I think sometimes getting that is really important, because we have this subtle feeling like, oh, I could escape the fear and the pain and the discomfort somehow by just not owning my greatness. And you're like, actually, either way, So might as well go for gold.
I think the flip side of that is thinking that you're going to escape pain and fear and doubt if you're good enough.
Yeah.
And that is such an important part of being an infinite receiver, is that you are also going to be learning the tools to be more resilient.
Yeah.
Because life is always going to life you.
So hard. So hard.
So what are you going to be able to extract from that?
Yeah.
The way that I think about this whole methodology philosophy is like, imagine that you have the juiciest peach, like life is your peach and you just get to suck the juice out of that peach.
Yeah.
And it's like dripping all down your chin. And sometimes it's amazing. And sometimes I've got a little bit of but I can handle it because I have the tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm excited to take a moment and share with you about the VITA Coaching Certification. This program has been around for almost 10 years, and it is my highest offering. The sexual wellness industry is forecast to be a $125 billion industry by the year 2026. Why is this? Because people are more ready than ever to express their sexuality and build deeply connected, meaningful relationships, and also, obviously, to have the most outrageous orgasms and erotic experiences of their lives. But most people are never taught how to do any of this, how to have extraordinary relationships, how to have the sex they really crave. So they're looking for qualified, confident professionals to teach them. And my VITA Sex, Love, and Relationship Coaching Certification is a powerful 1-year professional certification that's helped more than 2,000 coaches make their way to becoming incredibly successful and highly paid sex, love, and relationship professionals. But this program doesn't just train you in every aspect of the coaching process so that you can build a successful online business. VITA Coaching will also walk you through the personal transformation of a lifetime, because the best coaches have done the work themselves. You'll discover so many transformative techniques like breathwork, meditation practices, self-pleasuring tools that you'll apply to your own life first, and then you'll use these same proven tools and techniques to get laser-focused results for your clients. We also hold an exclusive live embodiment retreat just for VITA Coaching students and alumni every year. In this retreat, you'll experience 7 days of live teaching with the VITA teachers and I, and really refine your skills as a sex, love, and relationship coach. So if you feel called to claim your spot in this multi-billion-dollar industry and transform not only your own life, but the life of so many others around the world, you can get on the wait list now at laylamartin.com/VITA waitlist. All right, what's the second pillar?
Or the infinite pillar of support.
Oh, the infinite pillar of support. Well, I'm going to get supported right now by my water bottle of coffee. So last time, well, who knows when all these will come out, but I have a podcast we shot here in London as I'm with you, but I was drinking gas station coffee, which was, I traded out the gas station coffee. It was a poor choice.
Yeah. Not supportive.
Now we have Uber Eats coffee.
Okay, better.
Oh, no. My videographer, Jameson, brought me this iced coffee. God bless him. So let's check it out. But there was no ice, sadly, in this freezer. So it's like lukewarmy coffee. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not... Like if I was going to be fully supported by a coffee, I don't know this would be it.
Okay,
but
fine.
There's some support available to us here.
It's an upgrade from gas station, so we'll take it.
Sure is.
Yeah.
Sure is.
This was a hard one for me because, again, programming, strong Black woman.
Totally.
Also, my whole life was set from the frame of there is something not quite right with me, otherwise my biological parents would have kept me.
Yeah.
And so therefore, even though I have incredible foster parents, it's not safe for me to fully trust. I have to rely on myself. I have to do it all myself. And then as I developed in business, nobody can do it better than me anyway. So let me just do all of the things. And the reality is if you want to receive infinitely, you have to be held. You have to allow support in. And so the way I talk about it in the book is 3D support, like in real life, and then universal support. And opening yourself up to the divine, opening yourself up to the signs, opening yourself up to being guided. And that has really, I feel like I've always been spiritually inclined. And over the last 5 years, especially, my relationship with spirit and God and the universe has deepened profoundly. And yeah, I'm still a baby. I'm still a novice. But I love the relationship that we are developing. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. I have felt often that being spiritually awakened, it's not like you get everything, because this isn't a universe designed to give you absolutely everything, but it is a universe that is raining blessings down upon us all the time.
All the time.
All the time. And I think what's so brave about opening up to support, which is something that I struggled with as well, is oftentimes when we open ourselves to a level of goodness that we weren't allowing ourselves to be receiving, we often have to feel the pain body on the way to the receiving.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, because I also was like, okay, my fucking family cannot be relied upon.
Yeah.
Right. In some ways they could, but in some ways definitely not. And also, being abandoned by an abusive pedophile father will also make you feel like there's something wrong with you, along with the Catholicism, right? You're just like, surely there's something so wrong with me. Right. So I don't deserve support.
Yeah.
I don't deserve abundance and love from the universe. And if I can't 100% rely on my caretakers, I sure as shit should rely on myself.
Yeah.
Now there's something powerful about that. I've often reflected, right? There's so many gifts and things that I am grateful for some of that self-sufficiency.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, sure not looking around waiting for anyone to give me permission to do what I want to do. Like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, it becomes exhausting.
Yes.
And at a certain point, it becomes challenging in terms of partnership, right? Because partners love to give. And especially for those of us in heterosexual partnerships, it's like men love to give to women and they love to have their gifts received.
Yeah.
Right. So for a long time, when men would offer to do anything for me, it's like, no, I can carry my own bag. I'm good.
Exactly.
I'm doing everything.
Yeah.
I'm emotionally cared for. I've got it. I'm good.
I'm powerful.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And then I realized like, wow, like that doesn't allow for a deep exchange that creates eros, like erotic charge.
Yeah.
And my friend, also a graduate of VITA Coaching, Stariel Hope, she said, I was at Burning Man this year and she was like, please allow us to support you, take care of you, nurture you, bring you drinks, give you iced coffee, help you with your e-bike. And I said, thank you. I'm learning to receive. And she said, the ecosystem is more efficient when we all receive from each other, because then we're able to receive each person's gift.
Yes.
And some people are made to make the most nourishing food. Some people were made to sing the most beautiful songs. Some people were made to make plush environments. Some people were made to crush it and making all the money, like we all have these different gifts. And so when we receive from others, we literally make the ecosystem more efficient because we're all being supported by each other's superpowers. Yeah. We're like, I alone, and humans weren't designed like that. We're tribal creatures. We're actually designed to be supported. I am one of the most useless people when it comes to physical things, right? Like I didn't realize that the hot water usually comes out of the left faucet for decades. It was literally like a year and a half ago. I was like, oh my God.
How are you here?
I know. I'm confounded by the phone so frequently. Like I don't know. I have no idea what to do if the bike breaks down. Yeah. I'm like completely and utterly useless. And I have these like I can run a business like you wouldn't believe. Yeah. Right. I can like crack marketing like you wouldn't believe. And then sometimes I'm just like looking at like a small engineering problem and I'm like, I don't know what you do with that.
Is that the hot tap or is that the cold tap?
Exactly. That's when like someone who understands these things, their gift, right, is to come along. So I'm just like, I will guide people towards ecstatic portals and you can fix the bike. Oh God, everyone's happy,
Yeah.
Like it all works out.
100%. And I think that this is also talks into the greatness pillar. When you can recognize the greatness in you from a true place, you understand that everybody has that.
Yeah.
I see the greatness. The greatness in you sees the greatness in me. Like, namaste.
Yes. Yeah. And that nature is abundant, right? When you look around, there's like little blips in which like nature is not abundant or there's an ecological disaster or like whatever, the comet comes and the dinosaurs are gone. But like for the most part, every once in a while, shit gets real gnarly, right? And you can't count that out. But for the most part, nature is abundant.
Yeah.
Fields of wildflowers, right? Cactuses bloom the most outrageous blossoms from the desert, right? The ocean is teeming with life. The rainforest is exploding all over. The birds are flying. It's just like we were designed to feel abundant, to be abundant. And so to be in a natural rhythm is to be in that kind of harmony with what the goddess and nature want to offer us.
We are part of that miracle.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. And when you can walk down the street really aware of the miracle that you are.
Yes.
And the miracle that you're a part of. Fucking hell, it feels really, really good.
Yes.
And from that place, you are naturally vibrating at a frequency that is infinitely more magnetic.
Yeah.
You know, and from that place, it is infinitely easier for you to start consciously calling in what it is that you desire.
Yeah.
What do I want to create?
Yeah.
What's another miracle that I can allow? How much better can it get than this? All of those things.
And I can say without a doubt, having done personal development, spirituality work for as long as I have, that every human, when they aren't clouded by the weight of trauma and misery and pain and fear in their nervous systems, and they're able to be their authentic selves, every human is fucking magic. Every human is a universe of wonder. We're all designed differently. We all have different roles to play, and there is magic and wonder. And for everyone listening to this right now, can you imagine if Suzy had denied her own greatness, not let herself be supported, not let herself allow the universe to have its way with her majesty and her magic and to open her voice? Like, can you imagine if Suzy was like sitting at home, just like crying right now and just had never allowed her greatness? Like what would be missed in the universe with her not like I'm taking in her majesty right now. For those of you who are just listening to the audio, her outrageous, like yellowy orange nails, her like multicolored sequin dress, her outrageous beauty, the glitter in her eyes, the magic pouring from her voice, right? Like what would be missed in the universe if she hadn't allowed those pillars? And I know many of you listen to this podcast and you're grateful that I allowed my greatness, my voice. And I want you to feel the sadness you would feel if Layla Martin or Suzy Ashworth had not said yes, and we just weren't able to be here right now. We weren't able to be in our magic. And I want you to feel that same sense of sadness for any way that you play small in your own life, for any way that you're not allowing your full greatness, that you're not allowing the full support to flow into your life, because the same universal magic is being missed in you.
100%. Thank you. I concur. And I think the other thing that I want to add to that is that 10 years ago, I had no idea what was possible for me. It started with a decision to say yes to going into business. It started with a decision to say I cannot continue my life working as a media sales rep. I can't continue doing this. This is not living life. And through following my heart's whispers and saying yes and yes and yes again, and falling flat on my face and failing and picking myself up and dusting myself off and then getting up and saying yes and yes and yes and yes. I'm like, here we are. Like 10 years in the grand scheme of things, it's like such a small amount of time. And so for everybody who is listening, who is like, have I missed the boat?
Yeah.
The answer is hell fucking no. Get on the boat.
It is real. Never too late. Oh. Yeah. I mean, I remember being 22 and sitting with my best friend at the time. She was shortly going to marry a psychotic abusive shaman and run off for a few years and leave me with a broken friendship heart. But in that moment, we were inseparable best friends and we did so much together. And I remember sobbing on the bed and I was eating Haagen-Dazs. So I used to love coffee Haagen-Dazs and because the coffee flavor. And I remember just being like, I don't know how I'm supposed to answer the calling that I feel to do this spiritual path and to lead others, but I can't even stop myself from eating Haagen-Dazs for breakfast.
thing I love about you is I think you know how to do despair better than anybody that I know.
I'm so good at despair.
You're so good at it.
I suffer so deep, and I won't let anyone stop me. Everyone's always like, you're so good at crying when shit's terrible. And I'm like, I wouldn't have survived otherwise, you know?
But I feel that you have taught me that too. I have, in the last 2 years, I think that I have increased my capacity to receive because I've increased my capacity to feel.
Yeah.
You know, and understanding that through the pain is a whole new level of pleasure that I have no chance in accessing if I block myself off when it gets difficult.
Yes.
So thank you.
Absolutely. And it's, you know, I'm always reminded of how important it is to articulate that you can live these big, magical, magnificent lives. Like you can be on stage, you can claim your greatness, you can claim whatever your dharma is. And like life is still challenging, which you're articulating, but it's so important for people to know that, because I think you can look at people who are in their greatness and want to be like, well, I'm still struggling and suffering. And that was really brought home when Bibi, also a VC graduate and student, when she came on the podcast and we swamped ahead of time. She was like, look, I'm going through this hard time. Will you swamp with me? Right? This practice where you express all your sorrow and your misery and your grief and all of that. And then you get all turned on, and it comes from Mama Gina, in order to claim the power of your own life. And so we swamped, and she was like, oh my God. She was like, you've been in pain. And she was like, I've looked at you so many times over the past year and been like, Layla's just making podcast after podcast. She was like, and I called my friend and I was like, I feel so terrible because I look at Layla and Layla's doing all these magical things and I'm just sitting here in the fetal position crying. And then my friend was like, I'm doing the same thing. I look at Layla doing all this amazing stuff and I feel so terrible. And I was like, well, look, the joke's up because I had a really hard last year and I couldn't talk about it fully because I didn't want to reveal other people's experiences, other people's processes. And I wanted to talk about it when I had integrated, was ready to talk about it in a way that made sense. And I was like, but I guarantee probably the moment when you were looking at me and being like, oh, Layla's so amazing, that I was like crying alone in Australia with no friends doing dishes. Like, you know, just being like, where has life taken me? Why did I surrender? Why did I leave my community in Los Angeles? Oh, my partner's like working as a doctor all day and I'm here all alone, you know? And like, it was a hard year.
Yeah.
And because of the way that I was with the difficulty, that's what makes the majesty, but not that there's no difficulty. So if I could teach people anything, it's like your life doesn't become great by virtue of having no difficulty or challenge, right? And even still, I just launched a new tantric mastermind and it was majestic. And in the lead up to it, it was like processing karma, processing trauma. It was hard as fuck, right? Yeah. So like, it doesn't even stop being hard necessarily, but the way that you ride the waves of the difficulty, to me, that's what actually unlocks a majestic life. And so I want people to know that, because I don't know sometimes that those of us who have these really amazing and successful lives articulate enough how much the challenge is still there, the hardship is still there. And like, not like play the smallest violin in the world for me, because I still have a deeply privileged life, but I still go through challenges. I still cry from loneliness. I'm still there, like going through my own process, you know, me and God just doing the thing. And so like to have everyone know that so that you don't count yourself out just because your life is still hard too.
Our job, and when I say our, I mean ours as a collective, is to remove the pedestals. Yeah. You know, you still shit. We all bleed. It's like we are all humans. And the more that we can reduce the separation, going right back to what I was talking about at the beginning, it's like, how are you? I'm going to look to see how you are like me. Yeah. Rather than how different we are, at the same time as acknowledging my uniqueness. And that is the duality of life. Yes. You know? And so, we're humans. Of course, in 2023, and I still haven't spoken about it publicly because there's still so many lessons for me to integrate. But 2023 was so hard.
Yo, everyone hated that year. Everyone's like, fuck that
year. It was so hard. Yeah. Personally, emotionally, in the business, so many things. At the same time, I'm writing this book about like cracking the code to conscious wealth creation and finally manifesting your dream life. I'm like, and so many beautiful lessons.
Yeah.
And the further away that is a little bit like childbirth, the further away that you get from it, the more beautiful it can become for you. But again, exactly what you said is understanding how to regulate my nervous system, how to process my emotions powerfully and potently so that I am able to extract what I can extract in the moment, and then more and more and more as time moves on. But also understanding just because I have a tough year, that doesn't make me less worthy.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me less deserving. It doesn't make my achievements or all of the things that have got me here to this, to this time and space. It doesn't negate any of those things.
Yeah.
Your tough times don't negate all of the steps that you've taken. And I think that it's so easy for us to do that. The minute we do that, we stop ourselves from receiving.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I was really contemplating, like there was this deep part of me that wanted to stay in my partnership with Andrew, to stay on this trajectory of like deep stability, to like have this wondrous family and just be like, look, I've been in this long partnership. I had this family. Everyone can trust me. And I was like, look, I got to do what is true for me. Right. And like I have to live truth.
yeah.
And like, there were moments in 2023 where I was like crawling on my hands and knees through glass, proverbially, like not for real. And just being like, fuck, and like longing for this like life that like I wished I could have in my head, so that like it didn't have to be so hard. And like this choice to just be like, I'm going to live my truth, come what may.
Yes.
And I say this to everyone who's in my professional certification, what makes you a great teacher and leader is not that your life is perfect, is not that everything goes according to plan, is not that you never suffer. It's that you use the tools that you teach with your full heart and soul over the course of your life, moving you towards the North Star direction of that which you are a spokesperson for, and that you are what you say you are, right? Have integrity around who you are, how you operate. And when you've fallen flat on your face, like don't project perfection all the time. If there's not perfection there, right? That's what makes us great teachers and leaders, is our fidelity to the teachings, our fidelity to the tools, but no human is perfect. And so if we made it more the connection to the actual methodology and the connection to the practice, rather than, I figured out a way to make life all perfect all the time, we would, I think, have better leadership and more integrity in leadership as well. And I just, I want to articulate that, because I think one of your superpowers, Suzy, as you said, is to take away people's excuses, but also the toxic stories that they tell themselves about why it shouldn't be me. And so I want everyone listening to know that you can have a hard fucking year and still seize your dreams and still be worthy of leadership and everything that you're meant to do in your life.
Yeah. I remember the year that I separated from my husband. We were together for 15 years. I had a talk and I was talking about freedom and, again, it's like big, yay, rah, rah. And I had to stand up in front of 300 people and say, I need to tell you that I am separated from my husband, the father of my 3 kids. And I remember just like crying on stage, and all of the thoughts beforehand. Will they doubt me? Does this make everything null and void? Is this going to make everything that I've said irrelevant? And actually being able to own my truth like that, and also be able to say, this is why it's never been more important for me as a woman to have my own money, to be able to make the honest choice, like really knowing that this relationship was for a season. It wasn't for a lifetime. Like, God, I wanted it to be for a lifetime.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be for a lifetime, but it wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah.
So many women are stuck in relationships because they don't have that financial freedom.
Yeah.
Because they are not honest about what it is that they desire. Yeah. You see it with women in sexless relationships all of the time. It's just like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm resigned to less than, because I don't think more is available. More is available, but you have to choose it. You have to ask for support in it. You have to you have to decide that that is your destiny.
Mm.
Mm.
All right. So, shall we have a little bit of sex magic?
I was like,
and then talk about the other pillars?
Yeah, I was literally just thinking, when are we going to get the mood out?
Let's do the mood. All right. So this is the Sex Magic Elixir, and it is made with saffron and ginger and mucuna pruriens, sistanche, and all kinds of magical things, and huperzine A, which is a sexy moss, so it helps with lubrication. And you take it either before sex because it makes sex more amazing, or now I take it literally before I go to the gym. I take it before I do yoga class. I take it basically because I'm kind of an energy junkie, but I can't drink caffeine. Okay, 3 p.m. used to be a caffeine cutoff. Now it's 4 p.m.
Oh God, that's even later.
I can sleep like a stone. So people, like when I had the Aura ring, you know, that tracks your sleep, people would look at my sleep score and be like, what the actual fuck?
She's an alien.
What? Yeah. So I sleep well, so I can have caffeine late, but I can't have it that late. So what I love sex magic for is actually giving me this beautiful rush in the evenings to like transition from work into sexy time, into meditation, into temple practice, into yoga. It's like my favorite thing. And you can layer it. So if you want, we also have the ecstasy. All right, we're gonna.
When are we going to be able to buy this in the UK? That is what I want to know.
Yo, it's the biggest question. And it's really hard. People think we're like not wanting to do it.
Yeah.
It's very hard with all the regulations, the legalities, the importing. Like it's not a small deal, and every country is different.
Yeah.
So you have to do each one for each country, and then you have to set up warehouses, and you have to like so it's quite a big deal for a young company. So as soon as we can, we want to do it because
Thank you.
you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, we usually have these sexy gold spoons, but because we're here in London, we don't have all of our normal dishware. So I'm just gonna toss us in a little bit. Yeah. Right, yesterday, me and BB had a sex magic with almond milk in it because she wanted sex magic so bad. And in the water bottles, I had brought a water bottle full of sex magic and we didn't have the actual bags of it. And then I got the water bottles reversed because my partner had reversed which one I usually put the sex magic in, which one I usually have the coffee in. So I dumped a bunch of almond milk into the sex magic, and BB, God bless her, was like, I'll drink it anyways. So we drank almond milk sex magic. It did. I think she went for it a lot more than I did. I was just like, mine's like still sitting on the table in the interview. But she drank hers. God bless her. All right.
Oh, I'm excited. Have we got more? We've got more bags of these. Can I take one home with me?
I would happily give you a bag of sex magic. I feel, just so you know, I feel very possessive of this sex magic because it's also hard for me to get a hold of now that I live in Australia, even though it's my own company. But I will give you the fresh bag. And then we also have these. These are the ecstasy capsules. Okay. So you can layer them and take like 2 or 3 of these if you want. So fun. Yay. Did you want any?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So how quickly will I notice?
The combination of this, it usually takes like 10-ish minutes, sometimes 15. Yeah. Here, I'll give you more sparkling water. So if you want, you can just swig it too with the capsules. We usually fast track this anyways. So some of the awkwardness. Or we should just slow it down and just do like slow-mo of like the awkward taking of capsules with sparkling water. So let's, oh God. Okay. Oh, it's right there. Oh, we did it. We did it. It's a real moment of magic. Yeah. You want like, yeah. Cause a little bit more than that for the flavor, and that'll be perfect.
It feels weird hearing you say that you live in Australia. I kind of, in my head, I'm like, no, she's staying in Australia. She doesn't live in Australia.
I know. No, we got a house, but I'm coming back to Austin and LA very soon. Yeah.
You're going to be there in May?
In where?
Austin.
I will be in Austin. No, not till later. I'm going to be in Byron. Yeah, you're going to Austin in May?
Yeah, end of May. My first time.
Oh, your first time?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm excited. I'm a bit shook. This tastes good.
Right?
Yeah.
I know.
It doesn't look like it should taste good.
No. And it's so many herbs too. Like it was really a feat for us to make this many healthy herbs taste good. And it's only monk fruit, beet, and blueberry. So it's all natural and like sugar-free. And it's, yeah.
I am shook. Congratulations, me.
Yes.
I love it. Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah. It's so fun. I'm actually like, honestly, it's really fun how it's taking off. And yeah, like Target wants it and Ulta, and like it's going super well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, big deal.
Yeah. That's the thing about surrendering to the universe. It's like you surrender and you're like, God, why? Like, why do I now have this like whole supplement company? And then it just like, it's like, I feel like that depth of trust really carries you home. Even in my partnership, I was just like, this is not what my ego says it wants, but this is what spirit keeps telling me to surrender to. And then it just blossomed into so much beauty.
Said that in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, damn it.
Well, it looks good on you.
Thank you. This is such a special conversation. Thank you. Like truly one of my favorites. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Totally. I love our style because like usually with the guests, we like sip it slowly. And you and I just like chugged our sex magic. We're just like down the hatch, yo.
Like, I want to get it going before we finish.
Yes. I taught 4 days of retreat, a couples retreat up in Yorkshire. And then this is my third podcast. And then right like immediately afterwards, I was like, ecstasy and sex magic.
Let's
fucking go. All right. So give us the 2 final pillars.
Yes. The pillar of infinite love.
My hair's trapped in my neck. Or no, my bracelet. Okay.
Escape.
Okay. Pillar of infinite love.
Pillar of infinite love and the pillar of infinite co-creation.
Ooh.
And love, gosh. I feel like actually my journey with you and Vita and sacred sexuality, that has been intrinsically entwined with the pillar of love. I say that I've been on a big journey with support, but love also has been so big because of, again, the first heartbreak.
Yeah.
And not realizing that experience when I was 3 months old, I learned what heartbreak was.
Yeah.
And I put bars up around my heart. There was like a shield and bars and you were not getting in.
Yeah.
And I think what was interesting about me and my story is that you would never have known that the bars were there.
Me too.
Because I'm so smiley and I'm extrovert and everybody likes me and I like people. And it's like, I like you, but you will never get close enough to me. And I had that experience with my husband. I had that experience with my children. And honestly, it has only been in the last 4 years where I consciously chose to soften, really releasing, doing the work to notice when am I closing off. And it was psilocybin that showed me, this is who you are and this is how you feel when your heart is open. This is who you are and this is how you feel when your heart is closed. And it can happen as quickly as that. And it's fear. You know, so how quickly can you catch the fear and just open your heart just a little bit right now? And that has been one of the most simple but powerful practices for me when it comes to softening my heart, is just asking myself the question, can I open my heart just a little bit more right now? Even in this conversation, even in this moment.
Yeah.
Can I open my heart just a little bit more right now? Because when I do, I feel you more deeply and you feel me more deeply. There's the way that we look at each other, the connection immediately becomes that much deeper. And that practice has been so enriching for every single relationship in my life. And of course, the most important relationship with myself, So the more that we can love and allow love to be the tool for transformation, all transformation starts with love. The more we can open ourselves up to receiving love, being love, and everything that comes along with love, more joy.
I'm going to share, sometimes it can be an unpopular share, which is, I love what you just articulated. I've never heard anyone else articulate it like that, but that's exactly how I felt for most of my life, where I was like, it's not like I was faking love, because it wasn't fake, but my whole heart wasn't there. It's like I was a kind, nice, beautiful, wonderful person. And I felt that there was a block over my heart, but I wasn't aware of how deep it really went. And the way I would describe it is like from the front of Layla to a certain amount of depth was like fun, joyful, nice, kind, like loving. But then you go deeper than that, and there's barbed wire and armed guards and like prison bars and like all of that. And I think when I've seen people realize this about themselves, there's a kind of horror, right? Like, oh my God, and then shame and then judgment and then wanting to remove it. And it's like, well, you build protection based on how precious you deem the thing to be that you're protecting. So your own precious heart, of course you'd have armed guards and barbed wire and, the most intense, elaborate security system, especially if you grew up where love wasn't fully safe. And when I saw and felt that, I was like, holy shit. Like, I thought I was unlovable, or there was something wrong with everyone else, or I was just doomed in relationships. But like, actually, I've been fiercely defending my own heart my whole life and playing these elaborate games of the ego, right? It's really like an egoic mechanism to actually be so defended and protected, but sort of tell yourself the story that it's everything else outside of you, right? There's no good partner. There's something wrong with my partner. There's this and that. And I have the thing I wanted to get to is I have actually never seen a woman with a truly open heart, like a truly open heart, go without deeply nourishing partnership, regardless of her age, regardless of her any position in life, anything like that. The deep, truly open heart magnetizes partnership and love, if that is her deepest heart's longing. And when the heart is still defended and when the elaborate games are in play, that's when the manifestation doesn't fully happen. And so to me, though, that fills all of us with hope, because then it's not like, well, there's no partners out there. No one's good enough. There's something wrong with me. All those negative, toxic stories. It's like, if I do the deep heart work, then the partnership and the love, they do. It's not that they appear because I think they're always appearing in certain ways. It's like I become capable of recognizing it and allowing it.
Am I willing to allow it in? Yeah. And it is, it's a controversial thing to say. And I said it even with talking about my kids and my heart being, my kids, I love my kids more than anything, but how I was with them because my heart was closed. I'm a completely different mother now than what I was. And part of that, I'm like, am I really going to say this? But part of that is also separating from my partner, who I absolutely love. He's an incredible man. But who I was being in that relationship, I wasn't able or willing to do the work that I needed to do in order to soften. And now being on this next chapter, it's a really fine dance, what you just said, because yes, it gets to fill us with hope. And the question that I get to ask myself all of the time is, how much more can I open my heart here? And that also that voice of, there's still something wrong with you. If you can just fix this bit, then you'll be a match for perfect partnership. Then you'll be. And it's like, we know intellectually that it's all an inside job.
Yeah.
I know intellectually that there is no separation between me and the greatest love of my fucking life. And the more I'm able to ground myself into the greatest love of my life is happening right now, the easier I become to be a match for that in my reality. It's just an interesting, I want to say conundrum. It's not a conundrum. It's just the practice. This is life. This is the mastery of life that we are talking about. Yeah.
Totally. It's wild, these games of the heart that can be played and how unconscious they can be for a really long time. Because when I magnetized just a soul level of partnership and love, and it was challenging and it was hard and it was difficult, and we'll, come on the podcast and talk more about that soon. But there was a point at which I was like, I'm out, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to go do just like one ayahuasca ceremony by myself in the forest, not to completely by myself, a private one with an amazing shaman. And just to wrap this up, just to like integrate. Yeah. And so for the first like 2 hours of the ceremony, it was just like, yeah, okay, I'm leaving. It's time to head off. It's time to go. It's like all of this. And then all of a sudden, like maybe like 3 hours in, it was just like, she was like, this is your egoic body that denies love on the deepest levels, and you still don't let masculine love in. It still feels bad to you. And I felt the whole body of pain, and I was like, and I was like, honestly, how much work does one person have to do in a single lifetime? I was like, Dad, blast. Like, how long does this go on for? And I was like, it was so clear to me that so much of the game I was playing and so much of why I wanted to run was I did not want to see or feel that thing. And I was like, you can go wherever you want, and wherever you go, there you are. And that will still be there. So what would happen if you turned in and dismantled this block to love? Because there've been so many, and I've been systematically dismantling them in my life to actually feel more and more true love, real love, to let love in. And it sounds so beautiful, right? This path of the heart. And honestly, it's fucking gnarly. Fucking gnarly. I don't know how it is for other people who weren't like abused and abandoned, but I can tell you, if you had that kind of pain in your life, it's fucking gnarly. And I suspect for most humans, there's a gnarliness to it, because we still have this like spiritual pain, this human wound, this like loss of tribe wound, most of us, that like it's just wild to be a human.
Well, I say in the book, you have to be willing to have your heart smashed into 1,000 pieces if you desire to have the greatest, biggest, widest, deepest, most alive love that you can experience.
Yeah.
And most people are like, I might rather coast, or they love the idea of it.
Yeah.
They love the idea of it. What I'm interested in is that you are a match for the most beautiful soul union. And do you think that it is the ayahuasca, like going on those journeys, doing the work, that gives you the insight to stay? Because I think that so many people are perhaps in their true soul partnership.
Yeah.
But because it's hard,
yes,
it feels like this is the sign to tell me to get out. So I'm curious about that piece.
Yes. So thank you for asking this. This is the edge of what I've been exploring. So number one of the things I really realized is I believe true love is exactly like spirituality, where no one can tell you the exact path. No one can tell you exactly how to get there. You have to figure that out yourself, but people can point you in the right directions. Any real spiritual teacher will tell you that true spirituality is hard work at times, right? Now, that doesn't mean you need to study with abusive teachers. That doesn't mean you need to be in absolute hell, but it means that if you are going to sit there and know yourself and develop true spiritual wisdom, it will be gritty. Yeah. It will be intense. And any real spiritual teacher will show you how to die, will show you the illusions of your own ego, will make you sit in spaces where you are profoundly uncomfortable. True love to me is the same. No one can tell you exactly how to do it. No one can tell you exactly what's right for you. And you do not need to be with an abusive partner.
Yeah.
You do not need to be in absolute hell in your relationship. And I have never known a true love couple that has been together longer than 5 years, that has not been through grit, that has not been through cycles of incredible challenge, that has not been through this process of facing their own deepest wounds, their own deepest terrors. And for me, right, just like on the spiritual path, having excellent guides keeps you on track.
Yeah.
Like when you want to run out of the ayahuasca ceremony, when you want to bail on the tantric retreat, when you want to get up and stop meditating because it's getting hard. And the good guides will sit there holding the lanterns along the path and say, keep fucking going, right? Face the dark night of the soul. You are on the correct path, right? And so that's what a true guide is. So what I think has helped me immensely is, number one, having a degree of spiritual grit, right? So that you can stay in when things are challenging. But number two, having two incredible mentors, Annie Lala, right? She calls true love climbing Mount Everest, right? It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do, one of the most challenging things you'll ever do. And you just fucking do it, right? And when I called Regina and I was like, I want to leave and I hate this and I want my fairy tale husband and I want everything to be a dream. And she goes, Layla, she's like, I don't know why this is, but I don't know anyone who ever got to true love without crawling on their hands and knees over glass, right? That phrase now that I use, like she said that to me. And I had to take a deep breath and I had to listen. And this is the thing about true love as well, right? You know, on some level, right? You know, in your deep heart of hearts, if this actually isn't the thing, right? You're in the situationship. The person's actually never going to change. You are settling. You are, this isn't your whole heart involved, right? You have to listen. No one can tell you that but yourself. Only the still silence of your own heart knows that. And if you're with someone who doesn't want to be in partnership, who isn't going to change, who doesn't want to be in true love, who isn't, isn't in it in that way, or who is truly abusive, right? They have a true personality disorder. They are truly violent, things like that, right? Like no one needs to endure that level of discomfort and pain. And I have friends who, Rachel and Johan have been on the podcast. They are one of my hero couples. They've been together over 11 years. They are madly in love. They have the healthiest partnership, and he cheated, a week after they got engaged, fucked up shit, right? Like I have, partners, like another married couple that I look up to so much, right? Like he had to do deep work to overcome, unhealthy emotional behavior, unhealthy communication patterns or whatever. So I do think that this message of it's not actually supposed to be easy. And when you get in very deep love, right, your wounds, your triggers, your intimacy fears, they do come up. I think there can be occasional exceptions for people who had like mind-blowingly happy childhoods, but by and large, the people in the relationships that I profoundly respect, they went through some level of hell to make their way to deeper partnership, deeper love, deeper union. And that message, I think, gets confused with the current message that's very dominant out on Instagram, and rightfully so, which is like, don't spend your life in a toxic, abusive trauma cycle with someone who doesn't want to commit to you and keep pretending that that's going to get better, because it's not. But this phrase, like, people don't change, it's like people change when they want to, but you can't make them want to, and you can't make them change. So, but what hope is there for all of us who have been through hell, who have these deep trauma patterns, who have barriers around our heart, if we don't believe that we can change in the direction of love? And so much of that gets healed in the context of partnership. So the greatest gift is finding someone willing to do the work, willing to go through the dark nights of the soul, willing to do it for love, right? And that person does not need to be Prince Charming on a horse, saving your ass. It's like you actually save yourselves together.
Oh God. I just, I listen to all that and I'm like, oh, do I actually want this? But the last thing that you said is in the context. So it's like often intellectually we get it, But it is not until you choose to be living it that you know whether you get it or not.
Yeah.
And usually the answer is not, but are you willing to do the work to get it?
Yeah.
And that, again, is the metaphor for every single thing that you want in life.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Oh,
and I do think too many people run away from true love because they aren't told what it actually can be like and feel like. And I know so many couples who are madly in love, who love their lives together, right? And when we don't have enough messaging, that it can still be hard.
Yes.
Even in that, I feel like we give up too easy, or we spend our lives fantasizing about something else, not plumbing the depths of the magic that's there.
Yeah. I have to say as well, even though there was that big release there after that teaching, I do feel so much more equipped for my next relationship because of VITA, because of understanding my own patterning so much more. And just so many lessons that I have learned about myself and who I desire to be in relationship, that I am excited and also scared.
Well, I'd love, before we cover that last pillar, could you just speak to that? Because you're in the coaching certification and you did the VITA initiation, our membership program. And so how does sexual awakening, how does learning to be in your body to that level help support this life of claiming abundance, of claiming your greatness, of all of that in the world?
Yeah. So my journey, I think, probably started about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I decided, after feeling completely shut down, completely turned off, that there had to be more.
Yeah.
And by the grace of God, I found you. And I started off in the membership, which is probably the most comprehensive thing that I've ever seen in my whole entire life. But
just a casual membership, PhD situation.
Yeah. And it was just like, you have to connect with you. I think that was what was mind blowing, is that probably why I started it was because I wanted to have better sex in union. And what I got and what I needed was understanding how to have better sex with myself, you know, and that relationship with you and you is always the primary relationship. So I went from feeling like maybe I'm never going to have another orgasm to, oh my fucking God, like what is happening here? With myself. So it changed everything. But the way that I learn is also to understand the why. So the membership gave me the instruction, but I needed to understand the why and the how. And I think what was so powerful about being in the coaching certification is that many of the things, the tools, the ways of thinking that I intuitively had was then backed up by, this really comes from the tantric philosophy. This is a truth with a capital T. This is why this makes sense to you. And there was just a whole nother learning. And I think that, you know, when I look back at my relationship, there's a whole just deeper level of compassion for both of us. Because we didn't have the tools that I now have, didn't have the understanding that I now have about connection, about trauma, about how we bring that into the relationships, how we shut down, how to open up, all of those things. So I feel just so much more equipped. I was saying, everything that I teach in Infinite Receiving was really me. This was the living into that when I joined the certification. It was like, I know that there is greatness in my body and I have achieved greatness in so many areas. Like, why the fuck not am I going to do this sexually? It was like, I need support. Okay. You know that she's there. Like, she's done this. This is her thing. Ask for it.
Yeah.
And then so much of the teaching as well is around the heart, is around the power, the transformative power of love, you know. And then there's the sex magic, you know, that is the infinite pillar of co-creation. I think what's interesting for me when I think about like manifesting, you don't almost need the process when you're loving on yourself, when you're knowing your greatness, when you're asking for support, everything else seems to fall in naturally.
Yes.
And I think that the same can be said, like I know that you use, I've had the pleasure of experiencing that with you, like potent, powerful sex magic rituals. But for me, that's almost, it's the cherry on top of the cake.
Yes.
I'm already getting it. I'm already receiving more. I'm already expanding. I'm already all of those things. And then it's like, okay, is there one specific thing I want? Okay, let's put the cherry on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think that that's part of the beauty of the majesty of the universe. And to me, goddess consciousness, she would rather us love ourselves infinitely and own our own power than just like give us this amount of money or this business opportunity or this marriage or this baby or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like the actual point is the gratitude and the love and the knowing of our own majesty, and then everything else becomes cherry on top.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's this wild, sort of counterintuitive aspect of manifesting, that the more anchored in love and in worthiness and in gratitude you are, the more that the manifestation unlocks, because ultimately that is what life is about in my experience, is learning that depth of self-love and learning that depth of like ownership of majesty. And that is the thing that has been so denied women and Black women and women of color, is that sense of our untouchable majesty, irrespective of what is happening outside.
Yeah. It's a beautiful, beautiful world. And we are beautiful, beautiful pieces in this world. And actually to be able to see that, to know that, to feel that, to expand into that, just opening up. You know, that's the game.
Yeah. And you don't get there just because you got born with a silver spoon in your mouth or the equivalent of it in terms of having like the most amazing parents or the most intact childhood or anything like that. Like you can experience abandonment, hardship, abuse, trauma, death, grief, and still know the majesty and beauty of life. In fact, sometimes even more so.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Fourth pillar. All right, what was the fourth pillar?
The fourth pillar is the infinite pillar of co-creation.
Yeah.
So that's the manifesting piece.
I think I must love that one because my pussy just responded. I had like an actual like pussy squeeze. I was like, oh yeah, infinite co-creation. Let's fucking go. That sounds like sex with the universe.
Yeah. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
It is. And I think that, you know, I include it in the book because this is the thing that everybody wants to know. How do I manifest? How do I manifest? It's like, actually, what I know now more than ever, especially with the release of this book and seeing how much magic is being generated with this book, is that knowing how you want to feel on a day-to-day basis and then dancing with the universe in that feeling, you are going to be gifted more than what your tiny mind can possibly imagine. Yes. And living through your greatness, choosing to honor your purpose, you are going to be gifted more than your tiny mind can ever imagine. So yes, if you want the car, get the car. Yes, if you want the holiday, have the holiday. Like yes to all of the stuff. There is so much more. And it's understanding that co-creation is a dance.
Yeah.
The minute that we try to control, we contract. We contract the funnel for receiving. So that willingness to open, expand, and surrender, just like in sex.
Yes.
The more that you will receive. Always. Yeah.
Suzy, what a deep and profound pleasure this has been.
Thank you so much for having me. So
I don't know if I'm turned on because of you, because of the sex magic, because of the ecstasy. It's just ecstasy is the name of the supplement too. We're not high on MDMA. Just we always have to clarify that. That's why we changed the name of ecstasy to euphoria. Anyways, let's not get sidetracked. Wow. So buy the book Infinite Receiving.
Please do.
Everywhere books are sold.
Yeah.
And how else can people follow you, stay connected to you, work with you?
Yeah. SuzyAshworth.com is my website, and Suzy, SUZY_Ashworth is where I hang out on Instagram. Come over and play with me.
Yay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to This Tantric Life. I am Layla Martin. This is the home for the realest conversations about sex, spirituality, polarity, conscious relationships, and all kinds of topics that help us live the absolute most incredible lives. Please check out the next episode. Please go ahead and leave your rating and review on Spotify or Apple or YouTube. It's so helpful when you do that. If you want to stay connected to me, the most helpful supportive thing you can do is to head over to laylamartin.com, sign up with your email address. That connects you to me if you want to study deeper with me, if you want to receive my deeper teachings. I do it predominantly via email. Finally, you can check me out on Instagram at @the Layla Martin. And thank you so much for being here.